All right, so welcome to D&D Newbie Sessions. All of you are pretty well familiar, I think, at this point, but this particular set of slides here is to talk about how and why you should consider getting involved in primarily the Newbie Session events themselves, but we'll also talk about some of the other events we run. One of the ones that I specifically called out was the mini one-shot adventures, if you're more on the newer side of the spectrum for being a dungeon master. All right, so the initial slides here are just going to talk a little high level about, like what are we even doing here? What's this all about? So first off, our primary mission here as DMs for this community, everything is to create a bridge for new people to enter our world of D&D. It can be challenging for people to find groups and games, keep games together, find DMs, all that sort of stuff. Some of the common things that I've heard running the Newbie Sessions over the last year and a half or so, things like, I have been wanting to play D&D for years. Some people have even told me they've been wanting to play D&D for decades, and they've never been able to find people to play with. They just didn't know how, this Newbie Sessions group has allowed that to happen for them. I've also run into a bunch of people that have said things like, I used to play D&D when I was younger. I haven't played in 20 years, and I've been wanting to, but people my age now, I'm having trouble finding people that are interested in it stuff. We're helping create a space for those people to play as well. Just in general, a lot of people will say things like, I just didn't know how to find a group or a DM. My friends don't play. Things like that. It's just a challenge to get a group. Other groups may have been inaccessible. There's been some people with disabilities and things that wanted to play, but they just didn't know how to get in, and we can offer a space for them to work with them one-on-one and say, okay, well, how can we make this work for you? Okay, great, let's run a game. We can include you, and now we have a plan in place. Others have found groups to be kind of intimidating because they're experienced and they're not newbie friendly, or they just didn't get a good vibe from them, or whatever it is. So those are a lot of the reasons about what we're doing here and why we're doing it. This is more than just playing D&D as well, this particular community. It's about, in my mind, a lot of it is about doing what's right, being, setting a positive example, being better versions of ourselves. It's not just a friendly game of D&D. It's a chance for us to push ourselves and challenge ourselves a little bit, and like I said, set a good example. We're here to share our passion with others in a respectful, welcoming, and supportive environment. Make them feel like they're friends, they're part of the family here, that kind of a thing. Some of the things that I think we should all strive for, if you want to be part of this, be part of the community, run Newbie Sessions and stuff, is we should be professional. Like I said, this isn't a normal D&D community. The goal here is to actually have a very streamlined, professional, polished approach to it. Some of the comments that I've gotten over the last year and a half have been surprise. People are like, this is the most professional D&D experience I've had, and I think that's a great thing to strive for, because I don't think that's very common or frequent in the D&D community. A lot of times, a lot of games are just kind of just people getting together, thrown together, which there's nothing wrong with that, but we're taking a different approach there. We're also being really patient, wildly patient with people, because people are coming in with different levels of experience, different paces at how quickly they learn and are able to get up to speed with something complicated like Dungeons and Dragons. So we need to be, set that example of being very patient with people and making sure that everyone at the table is up to speed and moving together. Be accommodating. Reliable, make sure we're on time, helpful, friendly, kind, welcoming, supportive. respectful, inclusive. These are all other things that we want to be. One note with being respectful and inclusive and stuff is, we want to make sure we welcome everyone in, make sure everybody, no matter if they're different or whatever, like everyone feels welcome. But of course, that is also a two-way street. I mean, I'm of course not asking people to be respectful to people. We should be respectful, but we're also not expected to have people be disrespectful to us. That is definitely a two-way street. And like I said, inclusive of all sorts of different type of people, passionate about what we're doing, and caring. And those are, again, just some of the things that I think we should all be striving for if you're going to be part of this. We're also aiming towards something greater beyond ourselves as individuals. We can do great work, be great DMs on an individual level and run great games. But I think together as a community, we can achieve something even more remarkable. We can build up an amazing community. We can build a cool fantasy world together that's vast and intricate and fun to run in. We can create projects together, collaborate, all sorts of cool stuff like that. And I think in a way too, we're creating something that's new that may have never existed before. It doesn't currently exist, which is this particular approach to how we're doing things, and we can continually expand on that and make it better. All right, a few more notes about why we're doing this. First, one of the things that is driving a lot of this too is I am a personally very kind of shy, introverted person. I have social anxiety, and this community reflects that in a lot of ways by being really accepting and accommodating and supportive of people, because I personally know how hard it can be to take a step outside of your comfort zone and join meetup groups and stuff like that. Like I personally would have always shied away from that stuff because it's hard for me to just go and like talk to people and be involved in stuff. So that is a big part of this community, is being like, hey, we recognize that, and it's not scary. Come in here. We're going to help you. We're going to be supportive of you, make you feel comfortable. If you want to just come on an adventure with some people and you don't want to, put yourself out there too much because you're uncomfortable, that's perfectly fine. Let's be supportive of those people and not put them on the spot until they're comfortable doing so. This one's this might sound a little silly, but we're also trying to bring a little bit of light into the darkness with this whole community and organization. I don't know about you, but I think though the world outside right now in particular is not looking so great. There's a lot of problems and things like that, and we might not be able to make like a really big impact or anything like that, but we can make an impact on the world by providing an awesome place for people to come and feel welcomed and spread positivity and stuff like that. That is an important part of this. And again, I know it kind of sounds silly, but I think that's still an important part of this. Anything we can do to help bring a little bit of light into the world, I think is important right now. A little more down to earth, a little more practical. This stuff is just fun. It's challenging and rewarding. Running games for strangers and stuff is not easy. It can be a little daunting and stuff like that, but it can make you a stronger person, more disciplined. You've got to commit to something, not just running a game of D&D, but running a kind of a professional level game of D&D. So it's a great challenge if you're interested in that sort of a thing. You can also just kind of take advantage of the situation by running one-shot adventures, teaching people how to play D&D and find amazing players and then poach them, essentially. I don't mind. In fact, there's so many players, not enough DMs. If you want to, and so many of them are hungry for long-term campaigns and stuff. So if you want to run some newbie sessions, make note, like, I really like this person. Me and them, we're really compatible. Have compatible play styles and stuff. Find those people, make note of them, go contact them and say, I'm going to put together a campaign now. Come on over here and let's run a fun game together. That's perfectly fine, and I think that's a great benefit of being able to run these newbie sessions. And then lastly, we're also laying the groundwork for building, I think, a highly successful D&D community and D&D experiences here, because we have this whole process and structure in place. But we're also doing, like, for instance, these training sessions and helping guide people on, like, how can you be a better DM to make sure your players are having a good time? And how can you be a better player so your DM has fun running the game and is, it's a respectful experience, and everything like that, has accurate, well set expectations and stuff. That way, I think we can create a community where the games are fun, they're well run, they can actually maybe stick together. We can have players understand, DMs actually put a lot of time and effort into this stuff, and I shouldn't just drop out of a game because I don't really feel like it anymore. We can communicate better and say, hey, listen, I'm getting busy. I don't have time. I'm not having as much fun as I thought. And then have that communication and say, okay, let's play for like 2 more times. I can wrap up the current storyline, and then you're able to have a nice clean exit, and I'll find someone to replace you. Those types of things can make the whole situation of running games, I think, just better. So that we're laying the groundwork for that as well. Okay, where is this all going long term? It's a good question, and frankly, nobody knows. This was never meant to expand beyond Denver originally. This was an in-person meetup group for myself personally to just run more games, have fun, and that was it. My specialty is not whatever this is, not building a community and stuff like that. So I am taking it a step at a time, just building and learning as I go. But I'm also very willing and determined to sort of take this wherever it needs to go, wherever it makes sense to bring it. So the whole purpose of this particular event, these slides and everything, is an open invitation to you to come on this journey if you want, see where it takes us, see what comes out of this. And running Newbie Session events, the official Newbie Sessions that get posted, is where it kind of all starts. And it's a great place to start if you're interested in getting more involved and in being a part of this. Okay, how do you actually run a Newbie Session event? First up, don't panic. This is going to seem like a lot of things. And it's a lot of things that I have sort of been like tweaking and curating and bringing together over the course of the last year and a half over dozens and dozens and dozens of these games. The reality, though, is that it's a lot of really little, easily accomplished tasks that are done over the course of 1 to 4 weeks, depending on how far out you schedule your game. So while it might seem like a lot, it's actually pretty easy and digestible. And I have a checklist that I'm working on. I'm going to put it on Notion where we got our documentation, and it'll be very easy to just go in there and be like, done, done, done. Oh, that's next. Okay, done. And be able to run the whole thing. And it becomes pretty automatic as you run more events. All right, so meetup.com is the main place where official events are created right now. If you're watching this in the future, Meetup.com may go away at some point in the future. It's not 100% certain at this point exactly what role it will continue to play. We may use something like WordPress and an events sort of system where we can actually build a platform, for instance, to handle events. And that gives us the freedom in the future to build custom functionality and stuff that works for our community specifically. But for the time being, and probably for the near future, the next year at least, meetup.com is the official place for these events where they get created, promoted to the community, and everything like that. When you create these events, you are the owner of them. You get to control them, you get to create them, publish them, promote them. I will assist you as we go. I'll answer your questions. I'll help you promote them as much as possible and stuff. But ultimately, you are the owner. Make sure they have good descriptions. Make sure they have clear instructions. So we want to answer as much of things as we can up front. But as the host, the owner of them, you will have to also follow up with players. They're going to post comments, send you messages, stuff like that. Respond to them whenever you can, guide them along through the process. We also have this little templated thing for the pregame comment. Basically, it's just like, hey, checking in, your game is this week. Here's some things you can do up front. And you don't have to even really think about it. You could just go and copy and paste that into the event. It's really easy. And it can help resolve little things like making sure they test their mic and webcam and stuff before the game, so we're not dealing with issues and stuff like that. Events should almost never be canceled. This, like I said, this is a professional sort of a endeavor. So we want our events to be very reliable, and that means scheduling wisely. So if you're gonna go down this path and want to run official newbie events and stuff, make sure you check your schedule. If you think like, hey, my boss might make me work late on Tuesday, just don't schedule it on a Tuesday. Choose a different day. Choose a day where you have more flexibility to make sure that doesn't happen. Of course, things can happen. Sometimes events do actually need to be canceled, and that's fine. The first thing you can do is just try to find someone to take your spot. If we have more and more DMs that are able to help run these events, there's more people that could help step in and say, yeah, no problem, I'll jump in and take that time slot. If we're unable to find someone, then cancel the event. But please make sure to explain it clearly. Hey, this came up. I'm sorry that I have to cancel, but there's nothing I can do about it. Think family emergencies or you're sick or anything like that. Just explain it clearly and let them know that there will be more events in the future that they can join. That brings us to Discord. This is where the magic happens. This is where our community lives and breathes and ultimately where we bring everybody in to participate. Be prepared to assist people with technical issues. There's a fair amount of people in our community that are not super tech savvy and they've never used Discord before. So we just need to answer some basic questions about how to connect, how to get into an actual voice channel. And of course, we're not here to solve people's IT problems. We're not here to tell them how operating systems work and stuff like that. But we should be able to provide them at least a little bit of basic guidance. Is your microphone connected? Is it on? Is there a physical mute on it? Is it paired correctly with the Bluetooth? Check your Discord settings, things like that. But ultimately, we also need to keep the game moving. So you're not expected to just sit there and troubleshoot for an hour. Do your best. If they can't get it working after like 15 minutes or something like that while you're getting other people set up, it might ultimately result in you just saying, hey, if you can't get it working on your own in the next like 5 minutes or so, you're going to have to, we'll just have to have you join a future game. Maybe we can work on this outside of the game later. But you're going to have to drop for tonight so we can keep moving. It's not fair to everyone else to sit there and wait for an hour to help try and resolve issues. If you can, join early and share your screen. So one of the things I'm going to cover next is the introductory slides. But this particular set of slides this slide right here is what I share about 30 minutes prior to the game. I just turn it on, I walk away from my computer, get prepared in other ways. This is a great place for people to get some introductory notes about how to get set up, share their character sheets, make sure they're logged into Astral Tabletop, stuff like that. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it's helpful. Keep an eye on the waitlist queue channel. That's a new voice channel where people that are not currently RSVP in the main RSVP but are waitlisted can queue up. And then if we have last minute people that don't show up or they dropped out for some reason, we can go to that channel and pull them in based on their RSVP status. And that's very clear in Meetup. Like this person RSVP'd earlier than this person, so we should give them priority to come in. And then lastly, once your group is ready, ping everyone in the Newbie Game text channel. This is helpful, as I'll explain a little bit later, but it's just helpful for you to remember who was actually involved in this game in case I need to follow up with them at some point. All right, then there's the introductory slides. This is just a short set of slides, and it's a great way to introduce yourself, introduce the community, talk a little bit about D&D itself, break the ice, and get things going, as opposed to just diving straight into the adventure. It allows you to teach your players a little bit about D&D up front, get the gears turning, and it should be short. It shouldn't last more than 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. The slides, for instance, kind of my slides right now, this is what they look like. I got my introductory slides here, a little bit about myself, a little bit about the community, a little bit about D&D itself. We go very quickly and briefly through the actual character sheets. I know Melody, who's in the channel here, has done her own version of these, which is great. You're welcome to take these, customize them how they make sense to you. The main slides we really need to cover are just, talk at least a little bit about the community so people understand like what's going on here. Let them know about, some of the other things, like that they're welcome to invite other people here. There's a website, stuff like that. But yeah, that's it. Just a quick little run through to get us going. Like I said, helps break the ice and just get you kind of up and running. Remember that we run a hands-on learning experience here. These are not lectures, so we don't want these slides to be like 30 minutes of just intricate explanations about stuff. And then don't forget to ask who is new, so you can gauge the appropriate level of detail. If everyone's experienced, they just happen to be experienced with D&D, you don't really need to cover the character sheets then. You can just skip that section. In terms of virtual tabletops, Astral is kind of our official virtual tabletop here, but it's not required. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. Just remember to keep things, kind of simple and streamlined as you go, so it's easy for people to connect and get set up, so they're not spending an hour just like configuring their characters in the VTT. Plan ahead, make sure you know how it works. You've got things set up so it's a smooth experience. And yeah, that basically is it. That takes you into actually running the game. Quick note about freedom. This is we're trying to run like kind of consistent experiences and stuff like that, but you should run the game that you want to run. This is not Adventurers League or some other communities where they have, we're all running the exact same types of games. I need you, at one community I saw, they had like a 50-page PDF that you needed to read about how to kind of get integrated into their community, and that's a pretty sizable barrier. So I want everyone to feel like there's a structure in place here for kind of running the overall experience, but the game itself is yours. Do whatever you want to do. Have fun with it. Just be clear with your players about what the differences that they might experience are. Hey, I do some house rules, and these are the house rules. I'm a very narrative focused DM. It's all about the story, and I'm not so worried about the mechanics, or vice versa. Whatever it is, just give them a little bit of a explanation of that. Okay, so now we're into running the actual game. Just a few notes here. Just remember to of course, be patient and help guide players through as you play. Explain as you go. Remember, this is hands-on learning. We want them to have fun while they're playing, and it's not just like a lecture. Don't assume they know how things work. Remember that people learn at different paces. Some people pick this up really fast and they're like, ooh, that's how you do ability checks. Boom, they're off and running. Other people have never experienced anything like this, and they need multiple iterations before they start to really understand the key concepts. So remember that. Be player-centric in our community. Let them have fun. Use the rule of cool. Support them. Remember, this is really important. Remember that this is often their very first impression of Dungeons and Dragons. So we want to make sure it's really memorable and fun and positive. We don't want them leaving going like, ugh, that was boring or awkward or there's lots of roadblocks or interruptions or whatever it is. We just want to make sure this first experience is really awesome for them. Okay, so then you run an event. We get to the end, concluding the event. Remember to be thankful. Let them know that, some of the things that I tend to say at the end is, that's the end of the adventure. Thank you all so much for playing. I really appreciate you sticking with me through to the end, because oftentimes games of D&D run pretty long. I hope you had a good time. If you have any questions, feel free to stick around for a few minutes. I'll stay here and answer that. Otherwise, you're free to go. Thanks again. Just something like that. Usually that will result in a bunch of bunch of the players saying, "Hey, thank you so much. Really appreciate you doing this. I had a great time." But whatever else, and then they will say bye. And then a few people will usually stick around at the end to ask questions like, "So, how does this work? Can I keep my character? What is this whole sandbox thing all about? What is a one shot? What's going on in this community? I don't really understand." This is a great place for you then to be sort of a ambassador for our community and say, okay, this is how everything works. Here's how you can get more involved, whatever. Okay, so then there's just a few final tasks. There is a thank you page on our website that is a work in progress, but basically it is like, hey, if you're new to our community, go check out this page. Thanks them again for playing. Here's some things that you can get involved with, links and stuff like that. Remember to log, if it's a sandbox game in particular, XP, items, etc. to currently the Newbie Game text channel. In the future, that might change. Discord channels kind of fluctuate a little bit based on what we find works best. We might do something more like an adventure log channel or something where like all the XP and loot and stuff goes, particularly for the sandbox adventures, since multiple DMs will be working on that. But that's an important piece to remember. And that also relates back to that note I had made earlier about pinging everyone at the beginning of the game, because then they have already left by this point. You can quickly go grab their Discord usernames that you had pinged earlier, and then be able to easily send them the thank you page, the XP, the items, and things like that. And then lastly, if you had any issues or frustrations throughout the game, maybe you had a player that you felt was really incompatible with you, caused you problems, anything like that, let us know. You as a DM are not expected to be like grit your teeth and have to play with everyone. Some people are just not compatible, and that's perfectly acceptable and reasonable. If that's the case, you make a note of it with the moderators, with the other event organizers and stuff, so that we can communicate about it. And we do have a process for dealing with that. I also mentioned that checklist. That is going to be up on Notion where our documentation is. This is also not set in stone. So everything I just went through here, our goal is to continually improve on it over and over and over again until it is, quote unquote, perfect. We want it to be awesome, the best experience possible. And again, I know this seems like a lot. You might be thinking like, whoa, this is like way more than I expected or something. It's actually just a lot of little things to help make a consistent sort of experience. And it's okay if you don't get everything perfect. We'll have the checklist to help guide you and stuff, but ultimately, if you ran a good game of D&D and everyone had fun and stuff, you nailed it. A few other additional resources, notes here. We've got the documentation, like I mentioned, and that will be continued to build out in Notion. A lot of it's in Google Drive right now, but I'm in the process of transitioning it over. We have templated responses to make a lot of this stuff easy, where like you can literally just kind of copy and paste stuff, and you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to type it out. We're going to be here to support you. If you have questions, you had issues, whatever it is, you'll be supported along the way. And our long-term goal here is to get this whole thing kind of streamlined so DMs can go through this process, host events, contribute to the community and stuff. And it's nice and easy, and you can focus on what's important, which is just running awesome D&D experiences that you love, that are fun. And I can tell you from personal experience, having done this now for a while and running lots of newbie sessions, it's awesome. Like, it just gets better and better because I've been getting better and better as a DM and getting like really into these stories and the experiences more than I expected. So yeah. Okay, last little slide here. We do have some other events. We've got the training program, which is also kind of up for grabs. It will require a little more in-depth walkthrough because I want to make sure the particular thing that we run there is very consistent from DM to DM, because that is part of like an ongoing kind of expanding training program. So if you're interested in that, it's really cool. It can help solve this like supply and demand issue that we have, not just in our community, but in D&D in the broader world, that there's a lot of players and not as many DMs. So the training program can help close that gap. It also is designed to help players too become better at the table, and help it so that DMs are like, when we bring people into games here, they've got some good ideas about like, how to play, how to be respectful, how to assist the DM with little things and stuff like that. We've also got the Sandbox Adventures, which if you don't know too much about it, I think it has amazing potential to basically build a shared kind of open source fantasy world, kind of infinitely expanding fantasy world. I've got sort of a core thing in place from the community campaigns I've run and the sandboxes I've run so far. But for instance, Dux, who's in our community, he ran an event on Monday and actually is the first DM besides myself to start to contribute to this open source fantasy world. And someone else in the community named Kirksu, he's working on this really cool idea of building this guild hall that's going to be in the world, and it's got different levels that people can work up through, and it gives them access to cool things. Another person in the community is working on this really unique, interesting idea of having it's almost like a Hogwarts university type of thing, where people can learn, and he was sharing it with me last night. It was really, really cool. So I think we can integrate that as well. If you have awesome ideas, feel free to if you want to be involved in that, please do. We've got special events, which is a great place for you to share your wisdom with the community. And in fact, I encourage you, if you start to learn more, get involved, whatever it is, start jotting down notes, because you'll be surprised at how notes over time can turn into a whole set of slides, and then you can go share it with people. And I want to make note too, you don't have to be an expert, you don't have to be a master to teach people. Some of the best teachers are really just a step above their students. They're learning, their students are learning, they're both, pushing each other to the edge, and getting better and better. So yeah, don't shy away from that if you have cool things you want to share. We also have the mini one-shot adventures. If you are a new DM, this is a great part of the training program, kind of a stepping stone, where it originally started as the round robin, where multiple DMs were coming together to run short adventures, but it was a bit challenging to schedule just because everyone is pretty busy. DMs generally are busy. So we changed it to a mini one-shot adventure where one DM will host a game for 1 to 2 hours, intentionally very short, and they will be there with at a minimum one experienced DM to help guide and support them, and then other newbie DMs or experienced players that can provide feedback at the end. And that is an awesome event for truly hands-on, you are actually in charge of running a game and learning how everything works, but it's in a setting where you're very well supported. So if you're interested in that, reach out and let me know, and we can get a game schedule. Basically, the way to start with that is to contact me and say, I want to do this. I want to do it on this date, and then I will help you get it set up, scheduled, find people for it, promoted, and all that sort of stuff. And then lastly, and not quite as important, but if we do have the Friday night game nights, or we can also do them on Saturdays. If you do want to get involved in those and run an event like Dux was going to do some of those Jackbox games or whatever, just let me know. And those are a fun way to get to know people in the community and have some fun. Okay, that's everything. I know that was kind of a lot to absorb probably kind of quickly, but does anyone have any questions about that process? Any of the other events, anything like that? I'm happy to answer them. Oh, and let me check.
Sam, I just wanted to say that I ran that one newbie session and it was so much fun. And I've been thinking of ideas for other ones that I could do, and hoping to do more of those in the future. And I've been playing D&D, just for everyone else, I've been playing D&D for about 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. A few months into playing D&D, we lost our DM, and I was like, okay, well, let me figure out how to run this thing so we can stay together and keep doing this. And that's how I became a DM. So I will tell you that I'm currently DMing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, for a group of players who are way more experienced than me. They've been playing for 10 or 15 years, most of them together as a group. and it's sometimes a little bit intimidating because they know so much more about D&D than I do. And to run that newbie game was so fun and so refreshing because they didn't know more than I know.
Mm-hmm.
And newbies are awesome because they're so like, oh my God, what is that? Well, it's a little demon thing, and it's a kobold. How do you spell that? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like everything's new to them, and they're so excited and they're so invested. To my regular game, people are kind of like, they're a little jaded because they've done everything and seen everything. And running the newbie game was just, oh, it was so much fun. So
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know that I've been thinking about that. I wanted everyone else here. I wanted you to know that experience that I had with that. And then Sam, I wanted to let you know that I am working up some ideas to do more of those.
Mm-hmm.
I had mentioned some other ideas I had for you for those. So really looking forward to that. And I don't really know what I've seen the sandbox thing listed, but I'm not, and I've looked at the website Notion, is it called?
Mm-hmm.
And that looks fabulous, but I don't, if nobody else has any questions, if you could explain that a little bit more in depth, that would be great because I would love to get involved in that, but I don't completely understand it. Except I did play with you on New Year's Eve, and but that's not part of that, right? That was something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, first off, I want to also say yes, newbies are super fun to play with. Just to echo off of that, they are super excited to play. They have great energy. They love like astral and how cool it looks and stuff like that. So that's a great point to bring up. Is that it is really just fun and rewarding, and that sort of energy really can fuel you during the game as well. And yeah, I do want to point out, yeah, Melody here, David, and Zach, aka Ducks, all three of them have run newbie session meetup events. And so, yeah, I'm super appreciative of them for stepping up and doing that. As for the sandbox adventures, so the New Year's Eve game actually was the sandbox adventures, but it was like the beta test for it. It was essentially me, seeing how it went, how did it feel. Most games I had run up to that point have always been scripted. Like I have, not scripted, but like I have a pretty detailed outline for the one shot that we're running. And the sandbox was me kind of taking kind of a risk, doing an experiment to see like, am I capable of running a more off-the-cuff game where my level of preparation is like one paragraph that says like, if they do this, here's like basically what we're going to do, and I'm going to make up the rest as we go. That was, to be honest with you, that was pretty scary, because I haven't really done that very much. So that's kind of the concept behind the sandbox, is that it's open and free and you're doing a lot more improv. But I will tell you, it's actually been really exciting. I've enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting. So the concept, though, behind the sandbox is we have an open world, and we have ideas about what quests are in there, what the NPCs need done, but we leave it open for the players to just be kind of plopped down in a city or wherever and just say, okay, here's the situation. Now, what would you like to do? Who would you like to talk to? What leads would you like to chase down? And we just let them kind of go and see what happens and see where it takes us. And then together as DMs, like I said, Ducks, on Monday he ran a game, actually took a newbie session off my plate because I had a work-related thing come up. And he ended up introducing a new section of the world, introduced new lore and NPCs and stuff like that. And that's going to be now documented as official like canon, part of the world. If you want to do that as well, you can run these sandboxes, and we're going to work together on this sort of infinitely expanding world where players can go. The players that have run in my sandbox, they could go over now to where Ducks ran his game, and I can start to expand on it with him, collaborate on it and stuff like that. The process. This is a brand new thing, so the process for it isn't like very official or very written down very well. We're probably going to have to come up with like some sort of, how do we make sure we don't have conflicts, or make sure a DM doesn't introduce a game breaking weapon or item or something like that. So those things are things we'll have to figure out. But I think it's also going to be really exciting because, like I said, there's some really cool ideas out there. And originally I had this idea of having a cap. Like we'll just go up to like level 4, but we realized after I was talking with some people, we don't even have to have a cap. We can say as you get higher and higher level, you move on to new regions of the world, kind of like World of Warcraft or something, where it's like, this part of the region is level 1 to 4. When you hit level 5, you're going to move on to this area, and it's going to have a whole new cities and quest lines and stuff that are for higher level players. So that's the concept behind it. And like I said, it's a work in progress. Let's see. Yes, for Europe, absolutely. And I think this particular presentation and what I've covered here, this is actually what could make the European games happen, because so much of what has made all of this work in the first place has been following this process and hosting official events and stuff like that. So all we really have to do to bridge that to Europe is have a place where the European events get posted officially for people to join, and then that can come to life. We can promote it on those particular channels. Like we can go over to Reddit and say these are European games now, and get people to sign up. The only problem with that right now is that I'm not 100% sure. Like, I don't know if we can. I guess we could use Meetup for that and create meetup groups in Europe. I'm gonna have to take a look and to see exactly how that works. But I think it's a great idea. Let's see. Any other questions? Yeah, you can, if you don't want to ask via microphone, you can also type them in the voice channel text there. Otherwise, if there's no other questions or comments.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
So I've been running these newbie one-shots for a while. I've been involved in the community, not like a ton in Discord necessarily, but since Sam was first starting this, more or less. So I've done quite a few of these for newbies, and I'll say that it has been a lot of fun. If you are thinking, wow, this is a lot of investment or a lot of time, the reality of being a DM is that you're always in demand. Like, there's such a huge disparity between DMs and players, and we can be pulled off in so many different directions, and our creative muses will take us in different directions as well. So if you're for those of the rest of you watching this later on as a recording, or those of you in the Discord channel right now, if you're thinking, I don't have time for this, or it's just a lot of investment, there are ways that you can be involved that are significantly less time intensive. I know for myself, like, I've got Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have 3 different groups that I run weekly, long-term campaigns. And then I've got one-shots that I drop in. Every once in a while I get pulled in to be a player. Like, once you start DMing and getting into the community, you have so many opportunities and options. Whereas players, they will take whatever they can get because there's so few of them, or so many of them. And so what I have found that has helped me in terms of keeping up with some level of consistency is I don't try and do the same adventure every time. Ultimately, the goal with a newbie session that's oriented towards people's first game is you're getting them exposed and helping them to learn the mechanics and just get a first feel of Astral and D&D Beyond and all those things. And so for the games that I've done, I spend a significant amount of time in D&D Beyond, and I walk them through making their first character. And once we start the actual game, I don't want to show them my view of Astral because that gives away all of the secrets because I'm being the DM. But I still keep my screen up and sharing, and I have it focused on my other monitor. I have two monitors with all of their player sheets. And yes, and somebody just asked a question in Discord. I have two videos up on the Discord, or not the YouTube channel for this community. The first video I think that Sam has in there is an interview podcasty thing between me and Sam, talking about my views on D&D and whatnot. And then the other one is actually a very popular tutorial on how to set up Astral one-shots. And if you go into it's actually been quite interesting to see, like, if you go into YouTube and just do a basic search for like Astral tutorial, that one pops up in like the second result. So it's been pretty phenomenal, and people have found it to be really useful. Anyway, off topic a little bit, but I was about to say I do wander a bit. I was about to say what I have done for the introductory one-shots through Sam's meetup here is I set a pace of about once a month, and it's I tend to do it on a day that's a little bit more chill for me, like a Saturday or Sunday or something, and I do the same one shot over and over and over again because it's meant to be a first time, one that encourages people to go find other groups. If they want to rerun it a second time, that's fine. But I'm very blatant about it. I'm running this one adventure. If you've run this one before, please let someone else do it again. Because I tend to have a wait list of between 10 and 20 people. That's wait list. That's after the group is full. So there's lots of demand for this. And what I was saying is that by running the same adventure over and over and over again, at the end, I go back in, reset all the monsters, delete all the players, and I'm ready to go for next week. And I have now run this one adventure that I've done this one. I knew this one like a year ago. I had done it in physical tabletop and converted it to web, and I've gotten I don't know, probably 20 games out of that one shot adventure in Astral. So there are ways that you can be involved in this, is what I'm saying. That like you don't have to do hardly any prep aside from the initial setup.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and remember, this process that I outlined here is not like set in stone. The game that you want to run is your game to run and stuff like that. So we want to make it work for everyone, and if you want to have a different approach, different goals of your game and stuff, that's perfectly fine and awesome.
Juice said they have a question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I joined this community like half a year ago while I was in music school and very busy. I think I saw a Reddit post or something. And I've just been trying to follow like peripherally, not paying a lot of attention because I was very busy. But recently I have a lot of time on my hands now, and I find that I don't really know where to start. Both as a European, there's not the website seems to be very like American centric, and I would love to spearhead doing something for the European side potentially of the community, but I don't know. I don't know where to start. I can't find heads and tails in this.
Yeah. It's a good point. Because of how it started and the current structure and stuff, it is very much U.S. focused because we're like the one of the main achievements recently was simply just getting more even coverage across the U.S. time zones because before we didn't have anything on the East Coast, for instance. So that just happened here in January. It would be an awesome next step to help the European scene because there have been a number of people from Europe that have reached out to me that have said I want to play, but all the games are at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning and stuff like that. Even the game nights and stuff, and to make that happen. I mostly just need to, in Juice, maybe this is you. I need someone that sort of spearheads it, that's willing to kick it off and get it rolling. Because for myself being in the United States, I can't be doing European hours to make it work. Plus my current sort of workload is basically at max. So what I need is, and again, Juice, maybe this is you. We can work together on this and start to establish the process and how to get it going.
Yeah, as I said, I have so much time right now. I'm starting a private game with my friends, and I'm trying to get back into it, and I love this community. I think the philosophy and I've been part of some game nights. I would love to do something, but I don't know where to start with these things.
Okay. Well, I'll make note of it right now, and we can work on it. I'll start to think about what that like from a technical perspective or process perspective, like how that would actually work. That would be amazing. And I know Individual Voices said they'd have to go at noon, so I know it's just about noon. So thanks for watching, appreciate it. One last note I wanted to make actually off of David, off of your comment too, was that you kind of pointed out like it sounds like a lot of work and stuff, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe the initial time you kind of set it up, it's a chunk of work to kind of get it going, but then after that you can run the same adventure on a monthly cadence over and over. One of the things that I noticed doing this was that by picking a date, scheduling it, saying you're going to do it, and committing to it, you'll be surprised how disciplined you can be and how much you will be willing to push yourself when it's official. I never really understood that until I literally started this meetup group, and I realized that when you schedule an event and people have expectations about it and they're going to be there and they're going to want to have a good time and stuff, you'll pull out all the stops and you'll make it happen, and it'll make you more disciplined, and you'll feel good about it because you'll get done and you'll be like, I nailed it, I followed through with this is amazing. So that that's just something to keep in mind there too. Yeah, that's a good thought. Individual Voices. Cool. If there's last chance for any questions or comments, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, that was exactly 1 hour. That was pretty on schedule. Melody, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, just as long as if nobody else had anything. Court couldn't find us because he didn't have the DM role. So,
okay.
So this channel is only visible to people who have given themselves the Dungeon Master role. So, Court, I just want to let you know that I gave you a DM role, and then told you to try again. So that's how you found the channel.
Gotcha. That is a good point. That was an oversight on my part. I apologize for that. But the good news is I did take a copy or a recording of this. So this will, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to upload it to YouTube. It'll be an unlisted video, and then it'll be on our documentation portal. So because I know some people missed it because they had a game going on, they had work and stuff like that. So it's going to go out so everyone has a chance to watch. Let's see here. Just waiting for a couple people to type, and then if you have to go, feel free. Nice. All right. Well, let's leave it there. I mean, you're welcome to keep typing and stuff or message or whatever. But I'm gonna end at least the recording at this point. So thanks everyone for watching, being here, sticking through. Appreciate it. And again, just best way to get started with anything in our community is just to communicate with me. Let me know what you want to do and stuff like that, and we'll make it happen. That's it. All right. Thanks everyone. I'm gonna at least stop the recording at this point.